Hello and welcome to Witchy Wellness Radio. I'm your host, Lauren Chalantani, women's holistic health coach and fellow recovering perfectionist. This podcast was created to show you that your body is not in the way, it is actually leading your way. Hello. Welcome back, everybody, to Witchy Wellness. You are listening to episode 165, Bohemian Magick with Veronica Varlow. While I was manifesting and living my dream life, I know that it includes mind, body, and soul health, which means ditching the toxic people, the toxic work environment, and the products that are wreaking havoc on you and your goals. One simple change I did years ago was to switch my cleaning and laundry skincare routine from some crap to something more powerful, potent, and pure. So if you are interested in learning more about that and how essential oils can help you ditch all the toxic crap, mind, body, and soul, and yes, it does help promote better feeling emotions and lessen that anxiety, join me and my team every Monday on Zoom at either 2 p.m. or 8 p.m. Easterns for our Intro to Essential Oils class. A different teacher will be guiding you each week, and it's great for beginners or even a good refresh on the top 10 essential oils that you can use to revamp and cleanse your life. RSVP in the show notes in that link to save your spot, and make sure you say Lauren Chalantani sent you. While spots are limited, make sure to book and reserve your spot today. Please enjoy episode 165, Bohemian Magick with Veronica Varlow. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Witchy Wellness Radio. I am your host, Lauren, and this is a show you learn how your body and emotions are not in the way, but they're actually leading the way. Today, we have a special guest. She is a love witch. Veronica Varlow is the last line of Bohemian Witches, a fourth-generation intuitive and international burlesque showgirl. She's a confidence and sensuality coach who has been featured on The Tonight Show, Playboy, CNN, and MTV in over 150 countries worldwide. She's appeared on the podcast Stars Like Us with Aliza Kelly, and her client list includes Chanel, Tiffany & Co., Vogue, Marc Jacobs, Creative Time with David Byrne, and the Whitney Museum. I mean, come on, the list goes on. She performs love rituals, couple rituals, healing rituals, all over the underground art scene in New York City at events curated by House of Yes, Shanghai Mermaid, Dances of Vice, and You Are So Lucky. She also writes a regular column called Life of a Love Witch for Enchanted Living magazine. Veronica, it is a pleasure to have you on the show today. I'm so excited to dive into all things witchy and lovey and sensually. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I am so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to talk about all of these juicy, dishy, fun, sensual magics that we can create and make and put out there in the world. So yes. Let's cast our sound spell together.
Let's do it. Let's radiate that out into sound waves across the world.
Woo, you feeling it out there, people? Because woo, it's good. It is good. It is good.
So I'd like to start off. I'm assuming anybody can become a love witch, but how did you step into this, or I guess embody this in your life?
Well, that is an excellent question. I grew up with my grandmother, who she taught me a lot of things about magic and witchcraft. And that is the source of all of my witchcraft learning and a beautiful foundation for it. And I learned so many rituals from her, and her mother was from the westernmost part of what was once Czechoslovakia, so known as the land of Bohemia. So my book, Bohemian Magick, has all of these rituals and foundations that I grew up with. And then as I grew up and I moved to New York City, I was really drawn in by the burlesque scene. And I was so blown away when I saw my first burlesque show. And I thought, how can I work that foundation of magic, but as an adult, put my confidence, my sensuality into magic? How can I walk through this world with that sensual magic? How can I feel powerful and me, and like the most powerful, genuine form of me, and put it out there in the world? And I started doing burlesque. I started working with couples. I love, and I love helping other people connect to each other. That's one of the things that I find really important in the world, because I think the ultimate thing in love, and the ultimate thing that all of the people, everyone wants, is deep connection, to be seen, to be heard, to be loved. And I think that that's what our world is about. So I really love helping people find that, connect with that in themselves, and feel really strong in their own self, delicious love, and then connect with others and radiate and magnetize the very best love to them. And when I say love, of course, I mean self-love, love with a partner, love with friends, love with your chosen family, and love with family, love with your job, your work in this world. Like, I want you to be deliciously in love with life in all aspects. And that is what I do.
I mean, sign me up. Oh, I love that. And I love how you bridged your background from learning from your grandma and your ancestry into to who you are. But I wouldn't say modernized. I would say to who you are, your own authentic self. And speaking of owning your power and your authenticity, how do you, if someone's listening to this and going, ooh, that sounds really good. Yeah. How do you own your like instinctual raw power? How do we tap into that? That's a huge question. So start where.
And that is an excellent question, because I'm going to be really honest here, because I feel like it needs to be said. I felt, whether it was from society, whatever messages I was getting, I always felt ashamed of my sensuality. I felt like people wouldn't take me seriously for who I am. I feel like I would be judged. I felt all of these like kind of spiky behaviors towards my own radiant sensuality and the person that I am. And that's just me being out in the world. And I'm sure many women who are listening will understand what I'm talking about. And I feel that I really had to call my power back to me. When I got to New York City, when I saw my first burlesque show, I talk about it in Bohemian Magick in more detail, but briefly, when I first saw my first show, there's this performer, Dirty Martini, who got on stage, and she's this voluptuous goddess. She's kind of this like Marilyn Monroe style, beautiful woman. And she got on stage, and I watched her, and I thought, that woman has something I do not have, and that is confidence. She just was in love with her body, with who she was, and she was not asking for permission, and she was not asking for, your acceptance of who she was or how she was. She was just boldly, unapologetically who she was. And she was a huge teacher to me in that moment. And seeing another woman joyfully just play in their own sensual space was eye-opening to me. And I was really wanting to take my power back and do the same, because I feel like society shames us so much as women. And I mean, we have to remember, looking back, I mean, going way centuries back, when witches were burned at the stake, many of the witches, many of the women that were, you know, the victims of this, they were people who didn't, you know, they went out of the box. They didn't stay in line. They were sensual, wild beings that didn't answer to anyone but themselves. And that scared people. And therefore, that was something to be feared. The sensual woman is to be feared, is in our minds. So when I was comfortable with my own self, when I started doing my very first burlesque show, and I'm not even saying that, like, you know, you guys have to go out and do your burlesque show and things like that. I'm just saying, like, it's so empowering to just take a bath and adorn yourself in like a beautiful necklace when you're bathing, and just feel like the queen that you are is extremely important.
Yeah. And that all comes down to being in your body and being
Yes.
present in your body. And that's how I get present, is just to become aware of my senses. Sensuality is your sense, are your senses. Like you said, like just delighting in that necklace or that bubble bath or a piece of chocolate. Like if you're going to eat it, like taste every single, like let it be like a full body experience, you know. It's just, it's still allowing yourself to delight in that. And so beautifully said. That's the reason why I started this podcast and called it Witchy Wellness, is to kind of let go of that old paradigm of what it means to be a witch. And for me, it's a woman who's in her own raw instinctual power. And that looks different for every single person. And like you said, doesn't give a flying, you know what, didn't ask for permission, not, you know, not out of any disrespect, but just owning who she is. And what you said about burlesque, I have only done a few times. It reminded me, I need to go do it again. I've taken twerking classes. And in the same day, because I was like, what is something I can do to embody that feminine sensuality? And I think I mentioned this when I went to the class years ago on the show, but they filled out the waiver like, well, why are you here? And I of course wrote, to like embody my divine feminine goddess self. Like, and they probably were not expecting that, but it is. It was the most supportive, loving environment. Women from all walks of life, ages, backgrounds. It was so beautiful to see. Everybody at first was kind of like shy, and throughout the class, like we all kind of got comfortable in our own skin, and we were just celebrating each other by the end of it. So I totally get it. It's different for every single person. Maybe twerking a burlesque isn't your thing, but just start to pay attention to what does interest you.
And I love what you said and shared about the many different types of people and body types and all ages and backgrounds, because burlesque is very much the same here in New York City. And I feel like society wants us to see other women as competition. And I feel like what you're talking about and what I'm talking about, like I've shared costume pieces with other women backstage. We're all running around half naked and like sharing each other's makeup. And we want to celebrate each other. We want to cheer each other on. And it feels so powerful and badass and beautiful when all these different types of women come together to celebrate each other and cheer each other on. And it feels powerful when we dip into that society mode of being competition to each other. It takes all of our power away. So it's really so beautiful to celebrate each other. I also teach burlesque classes at the School of Burlesque. And when I walk in and we talk about it, I say, I want you to walk as if this room was filled with honey. And you are just going to slowly put one foot in front of the other and cross the room. And it's like, oh, when I see the women just walking, it's just like, whew, we feel it. You light some candles, like you were talking about senses. It's the senses. When you light some candles, I drape a boa across their shoulders. And I'm like, feel like these feathers against your skin and just allow yourself to be in that space of sensuality and celebrating this feminine side of you and just really diving in and seeing them let go is one of my favorite things. It's like magic. It is magic. There's something that happens. The air becomes electric. There is some wild, raw magic that transforms a room and a space when women take back their own power and when they witness each other take back their own power. That's like, whew. Whew.
Yeah, I've experienced it even in my friend, her business is actually called like Rewild Yoga and Wellness. And it's like wild yoga where it's primal yoga where we're all outside together and we're like chanting, we're moaning, we're screaming, talk about like lower chakra, like
yes.
Shakti energy. It is, but it's the same thing. Everybody's kind of nervous and then they start getting into their bodies. And it's a switch, the synchronicity of just like energy always wants to come up. Everybody wants to come back to love or the light or however you describe it. And it once somebody does, it's like the 3-minute mile or 8-minute mile, whatever it was. Like once somebody does it intuitively, it's like you just see the whole room go whoop.
Yep. Yeah. Yes, it really does. It's beautiful. And I feel very grateful that I've spent the last decade of my life, like half either on burlesque stages or in burlesque backstages with some of the fiercest, beautiful, most like inside and out women of all ages, all sizes, all backgrounds, all just like really giving that love and support. Like burlesque really showed me how powerful we can all be together, and throwing witchcraft in the mix. Woo! Yeah, it's some next level. Yeah.
Well, speaking of witchcraft, how do you add that in with ceremony? And I think Tantra work too. How do you add that in to that beautiful mix to help women like own that power, that instinctual power?
Oh, there is so many different ways that you can do that. I'm trying to think off the top of my head because I feel like there is so much taking your time and savoring, like you were talking about, like eating a piece of chocolate and savoring it, having a moment of really, I love doing mirror magic. And mirror magic is something that my grandmother taught me when I was little. And it's very much about looking in your own eyes in the mirror, not looking at your features, but looking at your own eyes in the mirror and just staring in the mirror. And she would do this thing where you would brush your hair in just super slow strokes because it hypnotizes you. That feeling against the top of your scalp going down just calms you down and brings you to a next level place. Now, my grandmother believed that time isn't linear, just like just like Albert Einstein. She would believe that, you are right now 5 years old, 10 years old, 30 years old, 70 years old, and on the other side. She believed that when you look in your own eyes in the mirror and you get into this space, you can actually connect with you like full queen, fully realized on the other side by looking into your eyes in the mirror. This is some next level magic we're talking here. And that being said, when I would be so afraid, when I was just toe dipping into burlesque and performing and calling my power back to me, I would get totally dressed. I would light candles. I would sit down in front of my mirror and I would brush my hair and look in the mirror until I found her. And when I say her, I mean the best version of me, that queen that lives inside of me, and feeling like she can do anything. And the thing is that we need to feel that because each one of us is unique and there is only one you. And the greatest gift that you can give to her or him or them is to honor their beauty and power and that light that is radiating and illuminating inside of them and put it out into the world. Because you then, when you are walking your strength and your beauty and calling that power back to you, you inspire others, just like I was inspired by watching a woman stand in her own confidence and her own beauty and not ask permission. I was like, that blew my mind. And because she had the courage to do that, then I have the courage to do that. Then I can show others and then they can show others. And it just becomes this beautiful ripple effect of so much of that. And, I believe that, we could also get, you were talking about how do you use magic and Tantra and we could go even deeper into sex magic. I could talk about this forever. So let me give it back to you and ask you, where do you want to go in this?
Yeah. Well, I will say I've had those experiences in the mirror before. Even when I was going through a really rough patch. Well, I wouldn't say rough patch. I was going through a dark night of the soul. Mm-hmm. And I knew what I needed to do. Had to make a decision to leave a big relationship in my life. And this is so not romantic, but it was. I was at the gas station filling up my car and I looked in the reflection of where the meter is and I caught her eye. I caught my eye. And it was that's me, but that is that queen. That is that fully actualized version. Nothing was said, but it was just this telepathic, this is why you're doing what you need to do. Come to me. You are me.
Yes.
And it was just this moment that just to this day sticks with me that I'm all right. And I call to her. Sometimes I'm a lot of this work, we can get into this a second. Is, sometimes I still deal with the perfectionism and not, feeling I could do more or whatever. But sometimes you have to go and surrender and ask that higher part of you, guide the way, Jesus take the wheel in a way, even though I'm not a religious person whatsoever.
Right.
But in that vein, I want to bring it back to a little bit to sex magic, to surrender, because part of the feminine, at least for me, is learning that surrender in all parts of life and in intimacy in sex magic. So I was trying to bring that back around to dip our toes.
I'm loving your story. I'm loving your
Yeah.
story about the gas station. And that's
Yeah.
it's so visual. I'm there with you and
Yeah.
I see it. And I think that's beautiful that that queen was your,
Mhm.
your ancestor, your
Yeah.
highest version was like, come to me, like, let's get the best life that we can get. And even though you might be struggling at this moment, you're under her wing
Mhm.
and it's you, but the highest version of you, which is really beautiful. Like
Yeah.
I try to go back in time and I try to send messages to me from 10 years ago
You do
and
too.
put her on. I just want to take care of her. I want to be like, girl, you are doing the right thing. I know it's hard now, but it's going to be good. You keep going on your path because the truest, just keep with the truest version of you and do not bend to others or what others want you to be or do or what society wants you to be or do. And I'm so grateful to past me for staying the course so that I could be me now. So I have a lot of gratitude for the past, for the future me, all this stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of it. So thank you for that. Thank you for
Oh,
that
you're
story. It was
welcome.
really
As soon
beautiful.
as you said mirror magic, that popped into my head. As soon as you said that, I'm like, well, I'm going to have to share it now. There's a reason why. And I do that too. I send that love back to myself because, like, there'll be random moments where I'm hypnotized, probably doing things like washing my hands or just day to day, where I have memories pop into my head, good or bad or indifferent. And I go, oh, I got to send. It's like, and because I remember in those moments when I felt this little burst of
Mhm.
love or something, because it's all, I'm in line with your grandma. I think, this
Yes,
quantum
yes.
universe is we
Yeah.
all exist, and now everything exists in the present moment. So when you can hypnotize yourself to get to that present moment, you can tap into anything.
It's happened to anything. And like when you think about that moment of you being that queen on the other side, that is how I'm going to reconnect this to how I feel, my own personal theories about sex magic is when you are having that moment where you're having that highest form, that moment of orgasm, in science, they know that your heart stops beating for a moment. So technically, and this is why in French, orgasm is la petite mort, which is the little death. So because my foundation of Bohemian magic and my grandmother, she was so into talking to the spirits, the other side, talking to the highest form of her on the other side, connecting with her, connecting with spirits of like family ancestors. Like she would talk to them constantly, like regularly. So my take is that at that moment, you technically, for a moment, are on the other side. So if you are on the other side, then you can do anything. You can do anything. So, in that moment, if you want to create a deep connection, if you want to think about making something beautiful happen in the world, if you want to think about something you want to manifest, if you and your partner want to manifest something together and you can write it on each other's bodies. And then when you're in that moment, you can look at that word or look at that thing and just visualize it happening so deeply because everything, especially, all things in magic, they start in your mind first and then they move into reality. And that is what we do when we create spells, is that we transform our reality to create the thing that we want to see in the world. So this is also, I mean, a lot, to be honest. a lot of the magic that I brought into my life, that I'm really grateful for, my freaking awesome, amazing husband, my partner, David Varlow, who is also a witch, and he is so powerful and beautiful. And like, we connect, we're such good partners together. We're such incredible, like, he's legendary to me. And I called him to me by doing solo sex magic and really asking for this beautiful partner that was the person that was going to really be there for me, to be solid, to be excited about being monogamous, because that's my jam. And like, we could just do magic together and create all this beauty in the world. And, you know, he arrived with that, and with also asking, you know, also in a separate spell, putting all of the photos of my friends and my people and my spirits on the other side, and saying to them, like, you know me better than anyone. So if you can supernaturally match make me with the perfect person for me, so to bring out the highest form of me, please direct me to that person and direct that person to me. And within 27 days from that spell, we had our first date and he arrived. So yeah, there's a lot of powerful magic dealing with the other side and the spirits. And that's very Bohemian magic. Like, a lot of it is, a lot of my grandmother's magic is our friends, our spirit friends on the other side, who just help us. They're like additional family, that this world and the other world isn't separate. It's connected. Love lasts forever. And just because we can't physically see them doesn't mean that they're not there. They're there even more. They're there in our hearts, and they're there, like, they can help us in our world. We just have to ask.
Yeah, we just have to ask. 10,000%. And for different people, that may look different to what you call those friends or those beings. Like, people say light beings or interdimensionals, or even extraterrestrials, or whatever you want to go, archangels, like,
sure, yeah,
whatever you feel connected to. Because some people, you know, tune in to different words, just like the words for God or universe or source or Mama Gaia, whatever you want to say. Yeah, I will say that kind of magic is very powerful. And when you ask for something like that, buckle up, because I had a very similar experience. And within, I would say, 3 months.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but it was in a way that I least expected, and thought it was somebody else, but it wasn't. And it fell into place. And it was like, when those things, I told myself, speaking of surrender, I had this beautiful meditation. I didn't use sex magic in particular, but where I saw this beautiful crystalline heart that was just radiating. It was this like turquoisey, I can't describe the color, but it was a very vivid color. And I just intuitively was like, all right, I'm going to send this out to that partner, into the universe. I'm sending it out. Bring them back to me. And I don't care if I have to wait until I'm 78 years old. Like, I surrender completely. Completely. And 2 months later, I was at a meditation retreat, and I was eating my breakfast, and I look up, and across this table, I didn't know who this woman was, had a necklace with a huge heart-shaped crystal on it, that same color. And I go, I choked on my food. Yes. And then a bunch of different synchronicities led me to my David, that we've been together for 3.5 years now. But yeah, it's crazy. And I have used sex magic to a lot of, like, to manifest, but to create things too, with relationships, but like creative projects like this podcast, or or writing a book or blogs or whatever you want. Like, I think women, I mean, we suppress our sensuality and sexuality so much. Like, we're so scared. That's part of not owning our power. We don't have to create babies. We are a vessel for whatever you want to create. And I would love to hear your take on this, 'cause I'm sure you have lots of juicy stuff.
Well, I'm just shaking my head, yes, in agreement with you, because I feel like as women, we are fertile and powerful to create any type of world, life, projects, joy, anything that we want in our world, when we allow ourselves that beautiful power and just like feeling that. Because our projects and the things that bring us light in our worlds, whatever that is, whatever kind of work you do in this world that gets you excited, it really makes you fall in love with life. That is, going towards those things like a beacon. Like, that is our compass. And I absolutely agree that doing solo sex magic, I've done mine in front of a mirror to double it, because if you look into your eyes and you write in lipstick something on the mirror, and you're looking into your eyes and seeing that when everything is starting to really happen, it is one of the most it feels like you are sending earthquakes out into the world. And I feel like all of us can do this magic. And it's just letting go, because I know I've talked to a lot of women that have difficulty getting there. And I believe, I'm just going to lay this out. I believe, see, I grew up and I was not allowed to date. Like, my dad is such a wild man, but he would not let me date anybody. So I was like locked in the house and I was like 18, So I was a super late bloomer. So I really got to know my body alone and explore what made me happy, what I enjoyed. And then when I knew my body and when I felt really good about it, like later on in my life, because I was super late bloomer, when I was finally with a partner for the first time, I really felt like I knew what I was doing. Whereas I feel like our society is so, in another way, so crazy. I feel like we're pressured as women to be sexual for like a partner, not for ourselves, or not know what we're doing. And I feel like the pressure to hook up with someone when you're younger and you don't even know your body yet, I feel like, it becomes this thing where you're like, oh my God, I'm with somebody right now. Am I okay? Is this all right? Am I doing things right? Am I good? I want to pretend like I'm good. I want to and it becomes this play acting thing rather than a real thing, because you don't know. What else are you supposed to do? Like, how, like, so many women have come to me and been like, I can't have an orgasm. And I'm like, okay, talk to me about it. And they're like, well, I started hooking up with people when I was like 15. And I'm like, okay, did you explore yourself before that? And they're like, no, I just explored myself, like, with somebody else. And I'm like, no, 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 no. When you take the time to really know yourself and just find out what makes you happy, I'm telling you, it will change your world. It's too much pressure. If I would have been with somebody when I was 15 and that was my first experience, there's no way I would have just pretended like I knew what I was doing, and I would have never knew. Like, honestly, nobody wants to be like bad or like not in touch with, like, everybody wants to be like good in bed and awesome and connected and whatever. So like, that's a lot of pressure. That is a lot of pressure. So I feel really grateful that I wasn't with somebody till like way, way later, and that I had that opportunity and that sacred moment to know my own body. So if you are out there listening and you are having troubles with like really getting to that orgasm space, which is so beautiful and so magic, I highly recommend ladies out there in the world to give yourself temple time where it's just you, no pressure, just chill out, explore, and enjoy. And just allow yourself to take however long it takes and just like enjoy your body and just like, you know, take yourself on some sensual dates, take a feather and draw it across your naked body, take a bath and like adorn yourself in jewels, you know, step out and like put yourself in like a gorgeous silk robe and just like treat yourself like the goddamn queen you are. And you will start to like radiate. And so that's my little tangent.
I loved it. I was like, yes, keep going. This is the biggest thing for me. What came up for me when you said this, and I took it's like a tantra yoni egg course, which was really beautiful. Which is a great place to start. Just to, if you feel like you don't have any sensation, especially inside, that me included. You were like, there's so much there that needs processed and let go of. Anyway, that's a whole conversation itself. But my teacher, what I learned, it makes total sense. But what you beautifully just said is that like, it's our own sensuality. We have the choice to share that with a partner and co-create with a partner, but it's ours. We have to own that first. Just like when you know, put your oxygen mask on first before helping other. It's the same not cheesy, but cheesy concept. And you beautifully illustrated that too. Is like you won't know what feels good with a partner or to be with somebody if you don't know how to be with yourself on any level, intimacy or otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, it's so much pressure.
Yeah.
It's so much pressure on women to be that, whatever that is, that like goddess in the bedroom kind of thing. And if you haven't done that for yourself, if you haven't gone to temple yourself, your own temple, then how do you know how to arrive with someone else? You know, I mean, I'm a horrible cook. You know what I'm saying? Like if like I had to show up somewhere and like cook a 4-course meal and I was expected to do that, it would be horrible. And I would try really hard. I'd maybe get some takeout from someplace and try to hide the containers, you know, and I feel like that's what the same idea of like hooking up with somebody and not knowing your own thing first. Like, give me some time. Let me take a cooking school. Let me chill in my kitchen by myself and start to try different recipes by myself until I make them delicious. And then I'll invite you over for dinner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You need
and dessert. And dessert.
Yes, and dessert, girl. I love this conversation.
I love
this
it.
needs to happen more in the world. It's so important. It's so important that, you know, that you brought this up and that we're having this discussion. Because I think we really need to get real because, man, there's so much pressure, you know, and it's really important to just put it out there and be real about it. You know?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And I have this affirmation I have on my computer. I have to read it because if you are listening to this, and I've been there myself and feeling like this whole topic is maybe scary, overwhelming, you don't know where to start, you feel like you want to give up. I have this on my computer. I remind myself hourly, this is simple, this is easy, and this is fun. Let it be fun.
Oh, play. Just play.
Yeah.
Just play. Just play. That is such a good, I think that, and when we find ourselves in play, I feel like, you know, when we're little kids, we love that. And that's where we live, is in that world of play and happiness and fun. And that's when we're the most magic. That's when we're the most badass witches. That's when we're in touch with our intuition, our imagination. We're creating worlds out of like sticks and stones, are like castles and kingdoms, and we're coming up with all of this beautiful, worlds and thoughts. And I think that when we allow ourselves to play as an adult, we can get there. We can get to that magic space. And it's so important. So important. Playful.
Playful. And on that note, I don't want to close the show. We're going to have to start wrapping it up. And I will say, playful note, I bought or asked for Christmas a mini trampoline for my office to add more playful. It is the best thing I have added.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Even just for fun to like work something out. Like if I can't think of a creative idea or if I'm not, in a lower vibrational mood, it is solution for all.
Yes. I have a disco ball in my kitchen where I do a lot of my writing. And I also have those rainbow makers that kind of spin around and create like these rainbows all over my space. And I feel like that gives me the up vibe. Yeah. Like we're so visual that that's my version of a trampoline. That like, I also like just putting all over the place and making me inspired because it's important. It's important.
Oh my goodness. Well, this conversation is so important and so beautiful. Thank you so much, Veronica. Was there anything else you want to put like a little cherry on top or cover before we start to close the show down?
Oh, that's a great question. I just want to reach out to all of you right now and just let you know that you are beloved, beautiful, and badass. And when you say yes to your life, and when you say yes to the possibilities of who you are, and when you strip away all that doesn't belong to you, all the things that society has put on you, or old thoughts, or even old thoughts of yourself, when you strip that away, and when you are standing there in your wildest, raw, unique, and genuine self, that is a gift, not only to you, but to the world and to so many others that will look up to you and see that. So be brave, continue to walk your walk in the world, stand up, use your voice, and be in that wild, beautiful power because you are worthy and you are worth it. So that's what I want to say.
Wow. Well, I mean, that is probably the best ending we've had on Witchy Wellness. Thank you for that beautiful, just intuitive blessing there. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for coming on and for that note to end on. And we end every single show. How may we, the listeners, as a big act of love and gratitude, be of service for you in return today, Veronica?
I'm going to say two things. I'm going to say, if you are listening to this and you are called to finding out more about my grandmother and her legacy and this powerful magic, which is extremely important to me, I would be so honored if you were to read my book, Bohemian Magic, and use that magic in your life and pass it down to the people in your life. So my grandmother will go on forever. And I would like to say the very best way that you can ever honor someone is to go toward the things that make you feel in love and happy and strong. Because when you're in love and happy and strong, when you're going towards the things that make you feel alive and happy in the truest form of you, you just continue to put that vibe out there, and it magnetizes for all of us. So the best thing that you can do is just to go out there and be your most beautiful, unique form. And I'm out here cheering you on wherever in the world you are. I got your back. I got your back, people. I'm here rooting on for you, like all the time, rooting you on. Yes.
I love it. Yeah, we got a big sisterhood on Witchy Wellness Radio. I feel like every guest we have on, that's our message. And that's my intention. And that's how I know that's why all these beautiful guests like Veronica have been called to this show. It's that vibration to radiate more of that out into the world. But it starts with here. And if you guys thought of a loved one listening to this show, go ahead and share this episode. Not to just spread the episode itself, but to spread this message and this vibration. And, like we said at the beginning, we're casting this beautiful love spell, really into the world through the audio wave. So if someone or something popped into your head, follow up. That came in for a reason.
I love that. And I'm so grateful for you, Lauren, and I'm grateful for your work in the world. And I'm grateful for this show and for your sharing of this beautiful community, like all together. It feels really, really good.
Oh, thank you so much, Veronica, for coming on today. And remember, open up, surrender, trust, and let your body lead the way.